But we did want to hear from everyone, and so we also have invited on Bill Feehan. He's chair of the La Crosse County Republican Party in Wisconsin, and as mentioned, had Trump won Wisconsin, he would have been a Trump elector. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Well, it's nice to be here, but I'm the chairman of the 3rd Congressional District Republican Party, and that's why I'm an elector in Wisconsin.
Sorry, that's that party official. Great. Well, let me ask you this. Here we are. 4 years out. 4 years ago, you were on the winning side. Donald Trump was president-elect that cycle. Now, of course, Joe Biden is president-elect. So how do you feel? How are you sort of reflecting on the process this cycle when you're on the other side of it?
Well, the first thing is we have to understand that there's fraud in every presidential election. The question is, does it rise to a level where it changes the outcome of the election? And here in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Elections Commission repeatedly ignored state law, number one, by issuing 215,000 ballots with no identification for indefinitely confined electors. We could get to that,
but I was curious if you wanted to just sort of answer the question I asked.
So what's your question?
I was just curious how you're reflecting. This is one of those days where it is a day for democracy. It's a civic day. And I was mentioning last cycle when you were supporting Donald Trump, he was the president-elect. This time he's not. He's the loser of this race. How are you reflecting on sort of being on the other side of it on a day when traditionally there can be some unity for the process?
Well, first of all, the Electoral College will meet on January 6th. A joint session of Congress, and that's where the vote will take place to determine who the president of the United States is. So that hasn't happened yet. So
also somewhat non-responsive. I mean, I guess I'm asking you, the president-elect is Joe Biden. There is a process. Last cycle, at this time, you were, as was the whole Republican Party, resolved on the fact that we were past the point that the results were clear. And so I guess what I was asking, maybe you're not answering, we can move on to other topics, just how you felt about that.
Well, I think it's pretty clear. What I'm saying is that the president of the United States will be determined on January 6th, not today. And yes, Republican electors like myself.
I guess if you're going to go there, why wasn't that your approach last time, or the Republican Party's approach?
Well, there was no contention. There were no lawsuits the last time. I mean,
I'm a little curious as well, since you did want to get into, you did want to get into validity. We have a quote from you from an interview with BuzzFeed where you said, "I haven't seen any evidence that proves there was massive voter fraud or enough to change the outcome in Wisconsin." And of course, that's what every court has found as well. Since you've said that yourself, since the courts have found that, why do you think it's hard for at least the president and some officials to accept these results? What's the point of misleading about something that's so clearly been resolved?
It's not misleading. And I'll just say there are clear instances where the Wisconsin Election Commission gave instructions to the clerks that contradict state law. I mentioned 215,000 ballots without ID. They also instructed clerks to cure ballots. They refused to remove 130 people from the rolls who had moved out of state. We know about 7,000 of those people voted in this election.
And so maybe we just, for clarity, are you of the view that? Let me just finish the question, sir. Are you of the view that that Joe Biden is not the president-elect and didn't win the election?
I'm of the view that there's still legal cases that are moving forward. And one of those I'm plaintiff in that's being appealed to the Supreme Court. It's already been appealed to the Supreme Court.
I'm familiar with that case.
But yes,
you lost that case. You can appeal it. Are you going to? You have to understand, this is why when we go out of our way to have people on and they don't answer 5 questions in a row, you can understand how viewers might think, gosh, are you of the view that Joe Biden's the president-elect or not? That's a yes or no question.
No.
Okay. Representative Kenyatta, your thoughts before we go?
I mean, I will never for the life of me understand watching grown men and women twist themselves in knots, all to really make Donald Trump not feel bad. You know, my fellow guest here knows very well that Joe Biden is the president-elect. His refusal to say so is emblematic of what we see from Republicans all across the country who are more interested in making sure Donald Trump's feelings aren't hurt than they are in telling the truth to the people of whom they're accountable. You know, all these times they've been having conversations with Donald Trump, they're not asking for, you know, an emergency relief check for Americans who need it. They're not asking to extend eviction, unemployment insurance, none of those things. They're just asking, yes, sir, Mr. President, how can I make you feel better about an election you lost? And it's really sick to see. It's really sad.
I'm running short on time because I got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming up. I will say thank you to Mr. Feehan and thank you to Representative Kenyatta. And
thank you so
because
much,
Mr. Feehan mentioned that case, I'll just read briefly. The court rejected that case and said they're aware of no constitutional provision, quote, that gives Mr. Feehan the right to have his candidate of choice declared the victor. That was one of the many losing cases.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.